Hello and welcome to the Black Hat Bushcraft channel. I'm Matt Mercer and I appreciate you taking the time to tune in for this video this afternoon. And I've come out to the woods to collect up some materials for some upcoming projects that I have going on, and to collect up some actual straight pieces to make some trap components and some camp kitchen implements. I've come to an area here on our property where we have a species called Ligustrum. And Ligustrum is an invasive species, and it's very invasive down here in the southeastern U.S. And I know it's spread across many other parts of the country, and there is a species that grows up in the northern parts as well. So this may be something that's available to you. If you're in the south, most likely you've seen this or can find it if you look for it. And so I wanted to show you this today in case you're not familiar with it. It's an excellent resource to pull straight shafts, to pull things like Y branches and hooks, things to make pot hooks, trap components, and even some of the bigger specimens of this growth make, like, this is like my wrist size almost. You can get stuff the size of your forearm and make like larger camp implements. And this is a very dense wood. I don't know if you can hear that, but this stuff is really dense and very heavy compared to other woods that you might cut. And so it just makes a really solid material to build from. So I'm going to give you a look at that shrub here in just a few minutes. It reminds me a little bit of arrowwood. When I first started going up to the Pathfinder School, probably 10 years ago now, we have a resource available to us there called arrowwood. And arrowwood grows these perfect straight shafts, very long. Of course, the name arrowwood gives you an indication that it might be good to make arrows out of. And I always wanted arrowwood on my property here in North Carolina, but we don't have it. It just doesn't grow around here. But Ligustrum is a great substitute. It's not the same. It's not exactly the same. Where arrowwood has a hollow, more pithy center, this stuff is solid, but it grows with a similar pattern. And that's what I was looking for, something that I could use to make perfect pack frames, trap components, again, camp kitchen implements like pot hooks and, you know, camp kitchen things, tripods. I mean, you can get all kinds of stuff out of this shrub. So I wanted to show it to you today, talk about it briefly, just in case you haven't noticed it before. And again, the beauty of harvesting this stuff is it's invasive. So the more of it you cut really is for the better, because it does crowd out a lot of the native species that start to grow up. And especially this little area I'm in right here is just choking everything out. So I don't feel bad about cutting this stuff at all. I use it when I want it, and I take a little extra home just in case I need some at some point. So anyway, I'll give you a look at the shrub, and I hope this will help you guys. Let's take a look. All right, so here's a very small example of this Ligustrum, and you can see right here this straight shoot that grows vertical. A lot of times the main stalk will be a little bit tilted, and it will grow perfect straight shoots that reach up towards the sun. And this plant is actually evergreen, at least in my area, because it doesn't get that cold, so it never really loses its greenery. Even in the winter time, you'll see it be out here with green leaves on it. It has a very smooth bark, and it's kind of spotted a little bit. If you look at it, I don't know how well I can get that to focus for you. It's a very smooth, kind of spotted bark. I'll try to get you a better close-up example. All right, so here's a close-up of the bark. I'm just trying to give you a little bit of a look there. Up close, you can see again it's smooth, and it has a little bit of a spotted look. And just to give you a look kind of what it looks like underneath, you can see all those straight shoots that come out. It almost reminds me of the way crepe myrtle looks after it's been cut, if you're familiar with that. But this piece right here is almost as big as my wrist. You can see that coming off of it, you have these straight shoots that just go straight up to break the canopy as much as it can, to get the leaves up top. It doesn't have leaves down towards the bottom. As you can see, this long shoot here comes up, and then when it gets to an opening where it can get some light, then it has leaves. Just to give you a better close-up of the leaves, they're very small, kind of waxy looking leaves like this. And again, in my area, this stuff is evergreen. I'm sure in some areas where it gets colder than it does here, it may not be an evergreen all year round. But here, even in the dead of winter, I can come out and find some greenery on these shrubs. It's a really good look here at some of the leaves and the pattern of it. But the stuff really makes a great resource. If I come down here to the bottom, you can see how This branch comes off. That one's not perfect. Obviously it's dead on one side here, but it makes these great little hooks. I'll try to find a good example of that for you. And again, it makes these fantastic straight shoots that are about 1/2 inch in diameter to 3/4 inch in diameter. And those are just fantastic. If you wanted to build like a smaller tripod, pack frames, this would be a fantastic upright here on a pack frame. If you're building a ladder back frame, these would be great for uprights or cross members. You can see down here, here's an example of how it forks. So this one comes straight up from the ground here, and then it's grown into a fork, and it just makes the best forks like that. Sometimes I see perfect slingshots in these plants. There's a really nice straight right here. Way up. That's probably 6 feet long, I'm guessing. It's probably at least as long as I am tall, maybe more. But this area right here, all of this greenery that you see is Ligustrum. It's just crowded everything else out in this little area here. Very few other plants are growing. All of this. You can see all of those stalks growing up are Ligustrum. So I can really harvest as much of that stuff right here as I want. And if I did knock it back a little bit, that would be a desirable thing because it is so invasive and it does really just tend to take over an area. So here's a few pieces of this Ligustrum that I've collected, and there's a couple of little pieces of maple mixed in with this here, like that piece. But you can see these nice straights. That pole right here is exactly 6 feet long and about 1 inch in diameter. It's consistent all the way up. It hardly, like it's the same diameter at the base as it is at the top, which is really nice. You can see like these hooks right here. Look at that perfect pot hook in the making right there. All kinds of trap components and things like that could be made. So it's just a great resource, and you can see I'm taking advantage of it. So here's a little piece that I just cut off. It's about 2 feet long, and it had some leaves growing off of it, so I thought it would give you a good look at what the leaves look like once again. Small, waxy looking leaves. And I wanted you to see kind of how this stuff carves. So like for example, when you want to peel the bark off, this stuff just comes off in sheets. Just skins right off. It's very wet under the bark, but the bark just slips right off of this very, very easily. And what you have, it almost looks like maple on the inside. I'll show you up close. It's very light colored wood, and it's very strong. It doesn't have a lot of flex to it. It's very stiff. It carves very nicely. It's just finished. It's very pretty. Like when you cut it, it leaves it very smooth, if that makes sense. It's not a grainy wood. It's a very smooth. Not that that matters particularly with what you're doing with it. It's not like you're carving spoons out of it, but it just finishes really well. And the stuff, again, dries out fast to become very very hard, very stiff. You see that? The bark just strips right off. So just to show you what that looks like underneath the bark. Just a very nice, straight grain, dense wood that cures out relatively quick, seasons up, and just it becomes very stiff, which is great when you're building things out of it. You could probably get by with a smaller diameter piece of this than some woods that you might use that will have more flex to them, because this stuff is pretty. I'll give you an example. It has no flex to it hardly at all. So it's just a very strong wood, and it just makes an awesome resource for constructing things out in camp. So I've just skinned the outer bark off with my blade. Now what I'm going to do is use the spine of my knife to just shred this stuff, much like I would process fat wood. And with very little effort, I'm going to show you what that material looks like coming off of there. Look at all that surface area. Really nice stuff. I'm going to go ahead and make a big pile of it. Alright, that's good enough. Now, I'm not going to cut this video just so you can see this, because I don't want anybody to accuse me of camera tricks, but we just skinned that with my lighter. Now, if I let this stuff dry for a minute, you know how well that would work. That's literally skinning it down green, and it's still burning. It's still burning. So it makes a fabulous tinder resource as well. That right there is why I hate spring in the south. Pollen. Whew. All right, so I shaved this pile off just a few minutes ago. It's been exactly 10 minutes. Let's see what happens. Look at that. That stuff's fine enough that you could use it as a tinder bundle. I don't want to burn my cutting board. Yep, that's pretty awesome to take something from cut green to flame. 10 minutes. Yeah, I'm a fan. That's good stuff. All right, so now that you have a better idea of what this shrub looks like, in the late spring, early summer, if I remember correctly, this stuff does bloom and it has white blooms all over it. And in the late fall, it does create a fruit, a purple berry, and there's a lot of those clusters of berries on it. It is not a good food resource. It would be poisonous to us, but it is good for the birds. I know the birds eat it, and that's how it gets spread out, because when they make their droppings, it's full of seeds, and those seeds get dispersed widely and take over. So those are some distinguishing features in addition to what I've shown you. But I hope you'll be able to get out and find this stuff if you have it in your area and make use of it. It's just an excellent material to work with. It's very strong once it dries, and it dries quickly. Once you peel all the bark off, it dries out fairly quickly. I haven't had a problem with it cracking really bad. I have had some cracking, but not too bad. And it becomes a very hard, stiff material. So when you make stuff out of it, again, I made a particular pack frame out of it that just really turned out nice. Once it dried, it was just very strong. No, it doesn't have a lot of flex to it, and a strong, nice material to work with. So again, I hope it'll be a resource that is useful for you. If you haven't noticed it or haven't gotten out to see it, get out there, cut some of it down. It is invasive, so don't feel guilty, and make use of this stuff. By the way, I've been practicing my skills a lot lately. You haven't seen it on video, but I have been out and doing things and training and researching as much as ever. And I hope that's going to result in a lot more videos coming to you guys very soon. I am still going to be very active for the long haul here on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and click that subscribe button now. It's free. It won't cost you a penny, and I always appreciate your interest and support. I'll be back with another video. I'm fixing to film it right now, so another one coming very soon. And until that one, you guys take care, be safe, and as always, God bless.